People can look at the same video and come to opposite conclusions. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I know, good to see you too. I'm your host, James Parker. Yeah, so that's our top story today is just the aftermath of the shooting that happened with the ICE officer in Minneapolis yesterday. Here it is again, and this feels like sports, doesn't it? When you have people who are so tribal, they can look at the same video and come to exact opposite conclusions. Because pretty much everyone on Team Red is like, yeah, she tried to ram him with the car. Whether she did it on purpose is irrelevant. She hit him. He shot her. The first bullet went through the front window. Now, the kill shot may have come from the side, and that doesn't look too good, but it's also, in the split-second process of him doing 3 shots, blam, blam, blam. They can see that. The other side sees a bloodthirsty, cold, murderous ICE agent who is just picking off free speech activists for sport. Same video. This reminds me of The Catch. Locals, you'll know what I'm talking about. Transplants. It's one of those painful games in Dallas Cowboy history. Dallas is playing against Green Bay in the playoffs, January of 2015. It's a 4th down play. Dez makes a great catch. Ball comes out as he hits the ground, and they said he didn't caught it. Now, the crazy part about that is something that happens all the time in sports. Everyone who's a Dallas Cowboy fan said Dez caught it. Everyone who's a Green Bay Packer fan, they got on Twitter and X and Facebook, and they were saying that was not a complete catch. Same video. That doesn't bother me when it happens in sports. We have our bias. We want it to go our way. We see things. We let the bias interfere with our otherwise sterile review of slow motion tape from all angles. We're doing the same thing here. J.D. Vance did a press conference today. He came out, gave some long statements. I'm not going to play any of that. I just want to get to the question and answer part. That's where all the meaty stuff is. And so, number one, the media framing of the Minnesota ICE shooting has been disappointing.
Somebody sent me a photo of a CNN headline about what happened in Minneapolis. And this is the headline. I'm just going to read it. Outrage after ICE officer kills U.S. citizen in Minneapolis. Well, that's one way to put it, and that is the way that many people in the corporate media have put this attack over the last 24 hours. And I say attack very, very intentionally because this was an attack on federal law enforcement. This was an attack on law and order. This was an attack on the American people. The way that the media, by and large, has reported this story has been an absolute disgrace, and it puts our law enforcement officers at risk every single day. What that headline leaves out is the fact that that very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile? What that headline leaves out is that that woman was there to interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation in the United States of America. What that headline leaves out is that that woman is part of a broader left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and to make it impossible for our ICE officers to do their job. If the media wants to tell the truth, they ought to tell the truth that a group of left-wing radicals have been working tirelessly, sometimes using domestic terror techniques to try to make it impossible for the President of the United States to do what the American people elected him to do, which is enforce our immigration laws. The President stands with ICE. I stand with ICE. We stand with all of our law enforcement officers. And part of that is recognizing that you people in the media, not everybody in this room, but many people in this room have been lying about this attack. She was trying to ram this guy with her car. He shot back. He defended himself. He's already been seriously wounded in law enforcement operations before, and everybody who's been repeating the lie that this is some innocent woman who was out for a drive in Minneapolis when a law enforcement officer shot at her, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Every single one of you. Questions?
All right. So then another question comes through, and he was asked about that broader left-wing network, part of that statement right there. And that's why I played such a long clip. I wanted you to hear all that.
You just suggested that this woman who was killed, Renee Good, is part of a broader left-wing network. Who do you think is behind this broader left-wing network?
Well, it's one of the things we're going to have to figure out. But here's the way that I put it. When somebody throws a brick at an ICE agent, or somebody tries to run over an ICE agent, who paid for the brick? And who told protesters to show up and engage in violent activity against our law enforcement officers? You see, just with this most recent terrible incident in Minneapolis, you see friends of this woman's or other people who are eyewitnesses saying basically that she was there to engage in obstruction of a legitimate law enforcement operation. How did she get there? How did she learn about this? There's an entire network, and frankly, some of the media are participating in it, that is trying to incite violence against our law enforcement officers. It's ridiculous, it's preposterous, and part of our investigatory work is getting to the bottom of it.
Now, the rest of the media is not really on board with that idea. It's like, hang on a second. When you put it like that, it makes all left-wingers look bad.
Look, first of all, of course, nobody wants an American citizen to be killed. This is absolutely a tragedy, but it's a tragedy of the making of the far left. They have radicalized a very small segment of the population, taught them that ICE agents are engaging in wide-scale violation of people's rights.
Okay, it's hard to argue with any of that. This lady was radicalized. She was activated. She wasn't someone who was just watching this on her own and is upset about deportations, because she didn't do this under Obama. She didn't do this until the media told her. She didn't do this until her preferred politicians told her, till her academics and celebrities and musicians told her. And so he's absolutely right. Why isn't this lady taking care of her kids or going to work? Is this her job? How did she get there? How did she know they were going to be there? Who was following her? It's crazy that the media is not looking this up. In the same way we had to get Nick Shirley to go look at the daycares in Minneapolis, none of these networks are going to go trace this down and find out, well, why was she there? How did she know? Who was telling her when she was leading these other people? Who was she leading, and what group were they a part of? And instead of that, check out this just painfully dishonest question, where a guy aggressively misinterprets what J.D. Vance just said, what you just heard in those last 3 clips, to make him say something he didn't say and then answer for this straw man.
Go ahead,
Mr. President. Thank you. You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot.
Yeah, J.D. Vance never said that. He never even implied that. His point is, and tell me if you agree with it, that this woman, more than anything else, is a victim of left-wing propaganda. If not for the hyperbolic, sensational, exaggerated, scaremongering reporting of the media and the politicians and the celebrities and the viral videos and social media, this lady would have not have been there. She would not have felt justified in blocking a police action. She would not have interfered in law enforcement while they are conducting their lawful duties. She would not be blocking the road. She never blocked the road until she was told to by their left-wing propaganda network. So what do you think? This woman, who's more responsible for this woman's death? ICE? Herself? Or the propagandist who filled her head with all these ideas that made her do this? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. 2 more clips from the J.D. Vance press conference next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three funny guys coming on before the James Show. A guy on Facebook I'll probably be friends with based on his name. It's Boycott the IRS. He says, are we close to George Floyd 2 yet? Yeah, actually, that's pretty good observation there. Because you and I both know that's what they want. That's what they want out of this Minnesota thing. Look, that was very successful for them. The hysteria that they had around COVID at the same time when George Floyd had dozens of major American downtowns looking like the battle scene from Braveheart for 6 months. That created the chaos that they needed to take the 2020 election, whether you think it was on the up and up or not. They loved it. They live for this. This is what they aim for. This is why they have entire books on how to be an organizer and an agitator and a demonstrator and a protester and all these things. This is their jam. They don't go through the democratic process. The people who are constantly accusing you of, wanting to be a threat to democracy, they don't go get their representatives to draft a bill and everyone votes on it. No, they use violence, intimidation, property damage, whatever it takes. J.D. Vance was addressing that yesterday or right before the James Show about the ICE shooting yesterday. And I think this is the question that a lot of people need to just address for the first time. I think you're already on board with this. But if more and more Americans just have this inner dialogue with themselves, I know most of them won't say it out loud. But one of the things that is responsible, probably the most responsible for this woman's death, is the constant hype and exaggerated fear-mongering about ICE. That's what convinced her to go there in the first place. Because when there was 5,000 deportations under Obama, she didn't go block them. But she thinks Trump is evil. We got it. She's a tribal political actor, and the media told her. Her academics told her. Her celebrities told her. Musicians, whatever. Everyone told her to do this. And so she felt justified in blocking an ICE agent because she thought she was fighting the Gestapo. Why? Because that's what Chuck Schumer told her. That's what The View told her. That's what Sonny Hostin told her. Whoopi Goldberg told her. So when J.D. Vance says she's a victim of left-wing propaganda, it's kind of hard to argue against that.
There's a part of me that feels very, very sad for this woman, not just because she lost her life, but because I think she is a victim of left-wing ideology. What young mother shows up and decides they're going to throw their car in front of ICE officers who are enforcing legitimate law? You've got to be a little brainwashed to get to that point to where you're willing not just to protest, that's fine, not peacefully protest, but throw your vehicle in front of legitimate law enforcement officers and drive your car into them. To get to that point, you have to be, I think, radicalized in a very, very sad way.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, you have to be radicalized to go stop ICE from deporting illegal immigrants, or just immigrants, period, or whether or not they're legal or illegal. You never cared before until the media told you, until the media got you upset, until they told you that Donald Trump's literally Hitler and fascism's taking over your country and you're going to lose all your rights. Good job, media. You scared this woman into basically putting herself in a mortal situation. So what would the solution to this be? Not that ICE needs to stop deporting people, not that the feds need to stop enforcing federal law as it's written. The moral of the story is you people need to tone down the rhetoric about fascist, Hitler, racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, Islamophobe, whatever the sensational rhetoric is, it's now getting people killed.
This is politics, and often Republicans and get in arguments with the press about things. I understand that. I think it's really irresponsible for you guys to go out there and imply or tell the American people that a guy who defended himself from being rammed by an automobile is guilty of murder. Be a little bit more careful. We're going to talk about toning down the temperature, which I know the president wants to do, and I certainly want to do. One of the ways we tone down the temperature is to have a media that tells the truth. I encourage you all to do that. God bless you.
All right, 800-288-9227 if you want to sound off. Syed in Dallas, you're on WBAP.
Yeah, take the scenario. Multiple law enforcement cars, lights, and probably sirens on, and you bring your car in front, and you are surrounded and you're ordered. What do you expect if you're going to move your car and hit an agent, what do you expect in your head? What's going to happen after that?
Well, how about we give her the benefit of the doubt?
No brainer.
I don't think she saw that officer that was in front of her car because she had just got done backing up, which tells me that she was either looking backwards over her shoulder or at least looking down at the dash at the backup cam. And at the same time, there was another fellow that was pulling on her door handle multiple times, while the window was down. So I think she was looking at the either backup or backup cam, and then to the guy that was to the left of her, while this other guy, because I noticed the first time I watched the video, I didn't even see him either, the guy that was in the front. I was watching the guy pulling on the door handle thinking, oh, this must be the guy that shoots her. But it was another guy that she didn't see. And I don't think she was intentionally trying to hit him. I think she was recklessly trying to get out of there, evade a lawful order, and ended up putting him in a position where he can't tell the difference. He doesn't know her motivation. So
If the cops ask you to stop, you stop. You put your hands up.
Okay.
You don't move. You don't do anything.
Here's the pushback to that, Syed. What if this isn't her first time interrupting these law enforcement situations?
She's been doing it for some time.
Yeah,
we don't know. But
see,
when
Syed,
cops stop me, I put my hands up and say, I'm stopped.
you're so right, but this is the gray area situation that we've created for ourselves when we let them get away with so much of this. When we let them before, when they run off, it's just let them go. Or when they throw a brick through the front window of a Foot Locker, we don't go track down every rider and every bit of property damage like we did the January 6ers. I can't blame her for thinking the cops were going to go soft on her because they've gone so soft on rioters my entire life. Great call. Thank you, Syed in Dallas. 800-288-9227. We continue with the aftermath of the Minneapolis ICE shooting next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. There's a couple of lessons to be learned here. Number one, in the Minneapolis ICE shooting where the woman lost her life, the one lesson you need to take away from this is that some people feel so extreme about the situation that they're in. And I mean their view of America in 2026. They feel so extreme. They feel justified blocking police. Now, that isn't a small thing. That is a level of radicalization, and it keeps happening over and over and over. Because you could say the same thing about the guys who shot up the ICE facility in Dallas and Alvarado and McAllen. You could say the same thing about the guy who shot Charlie Kirk. You can say the same thing about so many of these other guys, the Tesla fire bombings and all the people keying and blocking roads. There's a big chunk of this population that has been so whipped up. They've had their fear sharpened to a razor's edge that, number one, they're willing to do this in the first place. So whatever's being pumped into their heads is causing this. And it's not all of us that are doing this. It's not political agnostics who are doing this. It's not right-wingers or conservatives or libertarians who are doing this. And to be fair, it's not all lefties either. But it is a subset of our leftist neighbors that keep doing this over and over and over. So there is something to be said about that. Like I said, one of the rules on this show is if we kept seeing attacks on police officers and crimes and shootings and assassinations and bullets flying by someone who is shouting "Roll Tide," we'd have a chat about what's going on with the Alabama fans out there, wouldn't we? We should be having a chat about what's going on with Team Blue fans out there, because this just keeps happening over and over. You know the list in your head already. The second lesson we're learning today, because here's the ugly part. Yeah, she was driven to do this by the hyperbolic rhetoric, and it is hyperbolic. No one really thinks that ICE is equivalent to the Gestapo. Not one person truly believes that saying it, like not one person in Senate or Congress or on MSNBC or CNN, no one really believes that, but they say it because it gets this reaction they want. It gets people whipped up, so they'll go out and they'll vote. They'll donate money. They'll go to events. They'll go to protests. When they need people to block the street, there'll be plenty of people to block the street. When they want people to block ICE, there's people they can talk into blocking ICE. However, now that they've seen the push to interfere with ICE got someone killed, are any of them backing off? Are any of them, like today? Because this is what I was looking for before the show. Is anyone on MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC? It shouldn't be that hard to at least put it in one of the bullet points of ways to be safe or ways to improve the situation is to not interfere with law enforcement officers when they're in the middle of doing their job. They're not even throwing that out there. So what does that mean? They don't want to prevent this in the future. They are just using these crazy people. This is what they called useful idiots in the Soviet Union. These people who aren't even true believers. They don't even know what's going on behind the scenes. They've never read Marx and Engels. They're not here for the economics of the situation. They're here because they've been emotionally manipulated into this stance. And if they're not calling for it to stop, that means they don't want it to stop, which means they're indifferent to the suffering of future Renee Nicole Goods. That's the name of the lady that was killed by ICE yesterday. So now what does that mean? If they continue the rhetoric, and they are continuing the rhetoric, then they're just using mentally weak people as cannon fodder for their own political gain. They are exploiting, abusing, and indifferent to the death of their own supporters. That's where we're at. I'm not happy in saying that, but listen to this guy. This is a viral video from yesterday.
I watched the video, y'all. I watched the video. The news is gonna say she tried to ram them. She most certainly did not. They ran in her car, holding on to their guns, and then they shot her when she tried to drive away. She wasn't trying to ram anyone. She was trying to get away from a dangerous situation, and now she's dead. If you are okay with the fact that they're gunning people down in the streets, in the suburbs of Minneapolis, then you're not a freedom fighter. You're a Nazi. Leave my country. Leave my state.
That's not an exceptional video. There's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who think like that, who are that worked up over what? Enforcing our borders? This is what they believe they're fighting you. That is how fervent some of these people are against fighting you. And when you see people like this, and then you turn around and you see the media still going with the hype train, even after this happened, even after Charlie Kirk got shot, even after Trump got shot in the ear, they haven't backed off of this. They are indifferent or actively using these mentally weak supporters of their own as cannon fodder to make you look bad, to make America look bad, to make Team Red look bad. That's sick. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, the great one, prime time, Alex Stein. Keeps getting roughed up at protests, and cops don't seem to ever press charges. How much is this going to have to escalate before someone does something? You'll hear from him next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Are the protests going to get out of hand like George Floyd? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three funny guys on before the James Show. And I say that because a friend of the show, friend of mine, Alex Stein, primetime Alex Stein, you've probably seen him floating through your social media feed. He went out and had a little fun with the Venezuela protesters, or I guess the Maduro supporters, whatever you want to call them. And, you know, he was just having his fun, saved all the big booty, the Latinas. And at some point, they have to get rough. They can never just resort to words or take a joke or laugh at themselves or just say, "Hey, cops, can you help us out here?" It always gets a little rough here lately.
Protect big booty Latinas! I'm here in solidarity! I stand with the people of Argentina! Get out of my way!
Argentina.
Get out of my way! What are you doing? Get out of my way! Y'all can't do this! Get out of my way! Get out! Get out of my way! Get out of my way!
So now joining us, the man, primetime Alex Stein, coming back on the James Show. Has it always been this way, or has it been escalating? Well, when you say protesters, there's only left-wing protesters. There's not right-wing protesters, much less right-wing protesters getting violent. So is it fair to say that this is endemic to one side? Don't get me in trouble. Okay. I got you. Well, look, this didn't happen once. They got a little physical with you. What was the other one that was just in the same area a couple months ago? What was that? The No Kings protest where hey, look, I'm not going to fault you one bit for that. I got roughed up going to a couple of protests, and I just don't do it anymore. I had a guy with the bullhorn say, "The new Jim Crow lives through 99.5." And there was a whole bunch of people that just surrounded me, and they started calling me Jim Crow. I was like, you know what? This isn't worth it. I'm gonna go home. I'm going to play some Fortnite with the kiddos and let these people be on their own. Can we get some good news out of Minnesota? Can the Vikings win the Super Bowl or something? Well, I think of like the hyper polite, almost Canadian people from the movie Fargo. You know, hey, don't you know? Right. You're darn tootin'. But also, Alex Stein, from all the assaults and batteries that you've experienced at these protests, has anyone ever been cuffed or charged with a crime? Yeah, I get that because the converse to that is, well, if they keep getting away with it, then it's just going to escalate until someone does get hurt. So you need to go ahead and press charges so these people learn their lesson. But I don't know. I think I see it your way more so. Well, I see you're still cranking out videos from around town. You recently visited Flower Mound, which was pretty fun. And my wife actually sent me the video of you at Highland Park. Where were they having like a dart meeting there, or Park Cities or something like that? Right, right, right. I hope they do. I believe it. You don't have to talk me into hating Dart. I hate Dart with the hot heat of 1,000 suns. Alex Stein, where do we find your work online these days? All right, congrats. I didn't know about the Real America's Voice show. Another round of applause for primetime Alex Stein. Coming up next, the anti-ice fever continues in Dallas. A viral video of a local worker at a hotel warning that ICE is staying there. ICE is getting doxxed in our own backyard still. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey there, fellow Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So a social justice warrior, I guess these people think that it's a game, I suppose. And you've seen this with the protesters before. You've seen them just go out there with their little homemade shields and their little bicycle helmets or their motorcycle helmets. And they're going up against cops with for real gear, or they're going up against National Guardsmen with for real gear. And I guess they think this is just a game, because if they thought this is for real, you wouldn't show up. You've seen the plastic shields that the riders will make out of like old plastic oil drums. But then every once in a while, one of them just gets dumped over the head and it dawns on them, oh my goodness, these people are for real. This isn't a game. Well, of course it's not a game. You need to stop playing. There's a reason why you're told you shouldn't interfere with the cops when they're trying to do their business. Not because cops are Gestapo, but because you're going to get yourself killed. You're going to get yourself hurt. And so J.D. Vance said it nice today. He said the driver of the car is the victim of an event of her own making. Agree. But here's where we all know the lesson we need to learn. Stop gassing these people up. There's some mentally weak people out there that believe you when you say Trump is the ICE is the Gestapo. Trump is literally Hitler. And now it's getting people killed. But there was a viral video from years ago where someone made an old cartoon intro from the 80s. It only lasts like 30 seconds or a minute or whatever. But the superhero group isn't the Avengers or Batman or the Thundercats or G.I. Joe. It's the social justice warriors.
Victimizers beware. The racist and bigots' greatest nightmare. Social justice warriors. It's the bias response team. If you've been offended, your feelings must be defended. Freedom of expression is a microaggression. Here comes Antifa Freddy. He's always ready to fight fascism with fascism. Starbucks windows don't stand a chance. Ethic enhancer. He's a systematic racism finder. Racism everywhere. Using the powers of screaming and shame. They win every debate by calling your names. They're heroes who think that they're victims. Social justice warriors.
God, that's so good. No, he said triggered, Garrett. Triggered. Thank you very much. But yeah, it gives these people a sense of purpose. And it's not an accident that this overlaps. So many revolutions overlap when you have a bunch of young people who don't have a job, when you have a bunch of young people who are unmarried, when you have a bunch of young people who don't have kids, when you have a bunch of young people who don't have any other purpose in life. They don't have a family. They don't have a good career going. They're not in the military. They're not, studying something or building something or working on a small business. These are the people that get radicalized, and it fills this void that we all want to have a purpose. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First, you need clean water, then you need clean food, then you need shelter, and then you need comfort and warmth, and then you get to that next level of needs. Do I have safety? And eventually, when you have all of your primal and animal needs met, and then you get to your basic human needs, where I've never missed a meal, I've never been rained on, my house has never been blown over by a hurricane or storm or whatever. So when you live in ultimate comfort, what's your purpose in life? You don't have a wife, you don't have kids, you don't have a career, you don't have a religion, you don't have anything going for you. These are the people that get sucked up into this. It's getting them killed. Being a social justice warrior instantly transforms you, though. Not from some loser who's 30-something years old and doesn't have custody of 2 or 3 kids, which is almost impossible for a female in America. You go from being just a loser to someone who's what? Saving the planet. Fighting for justice. Helping the poor. Helping the needy. All of a sudden, you're not a loser anymore. You're one of the best people out there. Unlike these other sheep who aren't even paying attention. And you've probably observed this as well. seems to be the biggest losers in your life are the ones that have the loudest political opinions. And my God, how often are they wrong? And you know what? Even if they agree with you, there's a lot of people out there who's like, I'm tired of all these people griping about Trump and trying to destroy my country. It's like, bro, you need a job. Why don't you worry about your own family first? But I think Scott Jennings had a good moment here where people aren't learning the lesson. They're not even trying to learn the lesson. And so I'm not too optimistic about things getting better. This was Scott Jennings last night.
I agree with you, Jonathan. I think there's some details we don't know yet, and we'll have to learn more about it. What strikes me is, first of all, it's extremely sad and unfortunate that someone died. I mean, the political fighting and disagreements aside, it's terrible. You don't want people to die in law enforcement situations or otherwise. But it strikes me that we are undergoing an epidemic of political vigilantism right now. Why are people showing up in vehicles, in convoys, not just in Minneapolis, but all over the country in an effort to obstruct lawful federal law enforcement activities? This is not an isolated incident. We have had hundreds of car rammings against ICE agents all over the country. According to DHS, this lady in this car today, along with other vehicles, had been tracking ICE agents around. Why are people believing that they can drive their car into a federal law enforcement situation and that is an appropriate thing to do?
All right. Let me help you out here. Number one, they've been told this for months and months. But the scary part is after this happened, after someone died, is there any hesitance? Is there any reticence? Is there any tapping of the brakes? Or does the mayor tell ICE to GTFO?
And I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
So no, they're not toning down the rhetoric. So what's next? It happened in Dallas today. Or I guess this video is from yesterday. Some young lady named Gia, who's working at a local hotel, spilled the beans and doxed to the world that ICE agents are staying there.
Hey guys, my name is Gia, and I just wanted to give a warning to y'all that there are ICE agents staying at the Hilton Anatole in Dallas. Quite frankly, I don't really care if I lose my job, because I could get in trouble for posting this, but honestly, I don't care because I care more about your families and about unity. So please warn your family if you or somebody who works here is worried about their immigration status. Please let them know. Okay, the Hilton Anatole in Dallas.
This is on all you media people who aren't tapping the brakes. Jacob Fry, GTFO. Dallas Express went to the Hilton Anatole. She doesn't work for them. It looks like she works for the valet company that does the parking for them, and I think she's been fired already. But I'm so sorry to the ICE agents out there. I mean, I know you're already nervous, especially here in Dallas, because your facility got shot up 3 exits up from where I'm broadcasting now. You actually had some the guys shot with bullets in Alvarado, which is just down the street. Happened in McAllen. Keeps happening all over the place, whether it's Minneapolis or LA or all these other anti-ICE violent events. And now you got someone still doxing you in our own backyard. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, what the heck did Jasmine Crockett say this time? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. So in the wake of the ICE shooting in Minneapolis, the Somali fraud that's going on all over the place, and plenty of other pieces of turmoil floating around the news, including Venezuela and what have you, we walk right into today's episode of What the Heck Did Jasmine Crockett Say This Time?
Jasmine Crockett, queen of the liberal tea.
He's blonde, bad built butch body, Governor Hot Wheels, and he is a hot ass mess, honey.
Queen of the liberal tea.
So, in today's episode, we have the logical fallacy of a straw man popping up in both of these. Do you know what we mean when we say a straw man argument? Garrett, do you know what that means? Just be a straw man? So it means when someone that is your debate sparring partner misframes your position into something that you don't believe and then attacks that. Now, even if he wins the argument against this misrepresented position of yours, you remain unscathed because he's not actually even talking about anything you believe. But to the unsuspecting third-party audience, it can look like he's winning a debate. And so this is a dishonest tactic to make it look like, in a PR sense, that you got one over on your political opponents. But in reality, it's just a ruse to make you look smart. In this one, let's start. Now, Jasmine Crockett, this first clip comes from her. She put this on her own YouTube channel yesterday, and it shows her in a congressional hearing. So I don't know if this was yesterday or the day before, but she has what looks like 3-4 people lined up, and they were having the discussion yesterday about the Minnesota fraud, the Minneapolis fraud with all the Somalis. And so check out this straw man right here.
Do you believe that all Somalis are engaged in fraud?
I do not, and I'd like
Okay, just yes or no. Next.
Of course not.
Oh, absolutely not. We have good Somali people in our state.
All right, let me stop it right here. So she's asking that like it's an earnest question. But let me ask you, just logically speaking, does anybody on planet Earth believe that every Somali person is a fraud? I don't. You don't. Donald Trump doesn't. J.D. Vance doesn't. ICE agents don't. But not only do I think it's like not a likely scenario, I don't think you could find one person out there who is so illogical that they would say, yes, every Somali person is a fraud. What was the example I was bringing up yesterday? Oh, yeah. The old the Abu Ghraib, when they were saying they were flushing the Quran down the toilet. Can you flush a book down a toilet? So not only did it not happen, it's an impossible thing. So she's asking these people, is this a good faith question? Is this a person that's trying to get to the truth of the matter? Or is this a person exploiting her platform to engender hatred against these people by putting false things into other people's heads? Because when Jasmine Crockett asked this, weak-minded people think, are these some of the people that think all the Somalis are fraud? Because we know there's all kinds of racists out there. Are these those people? She's going to expose them. Watch, they're probably going to have to lie because they really think. For all you Team Blue people out there who are all ginned up about this, nobody, not one person on Team Red or on planet Earth thinks every member of the Somali community is a fraud. So it's a ridiculous premise, but then she gets to build on it after she makes them give their little short answers. Listen.
Do you believe that all Somalis are engaged in fraud?
I do not, and I'd like to...
Okay, just yes or no. Next.
Of course not.
Oh, absolutely not. We have good Somali people in our state.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you so much. I just want to make sure I level set because it seems like we want to continue to, especially as we just heard those particular articles entered into the record, we want to continue to just make it seem as if you are Somali, then somehow you are a fraudster.
See, she's not stupid. We want to continue as if we're already doing, as if that's the status quo, as if anyone on planet Earth believes that. But people, it's like the stormtroopers in Star Wars. These are not the droids you're looking for. All these people are like, yeah, these aren't the droids we're looking for. Jasmine said it. The next part, we're going to scoot over because she was on The View. And just listen to this opening salvo here because she's talking about Texas. And this is a minute and a half. I usually don't like to make sound bites this long, but she's talking about you and me again with absolute strawmen. Does anybody think that the thing that's holding back Jasmine Crockett from being first in the Senate race is the fact that she's black or female? or the fact that she's a Democrat and this is a red state? Well, of course. Now, here's the straw man from The View.
Now, last month, you shook everybody up. You shook
Yeah.
up the Texas Senate race by announcing your candidacy. Texas hasn't elected a Democrat.
Hang on. She says she shook everybody up by getting in the Texas Senate Democrat race. Dude, we were predicting this for weeks, if not months in advance. It was the most expected thing ever. So, no, it wasn't a shakeup, but we'll continue. Go ahead.
Statewide, and they say 30 years. So tell everyone why you feel that's not going to be a problem.
Well, I'm not going to say it's not going to be a problem, but I will tell you that I plan to get it done. Listen, I am used to being underestimated. You know, people that know my story know that I actually only won by 90 votes to get to the state house. And as a freshman, I was handpicked by my predecessor to then go to the U.S. House. Listen, what I did is I evaluated the numbers. The numbers are clear that we can win. Texas is a non-voting state. We are one of the lowest voter turnout states in the entire country, with only about a little bit more than 50% of people turning out to vote. We are also a majority minority state. So for everybody that's like, well, she running for Senate and she black. Yes, I am. I am. And
And there are 3 million black voters.
Actually, 4.
Right? 4
We
million
have
black
4
voters.
million- we have more African Americans in the state of Texas than any other state. But at the end of the day, the way that I govern is I govern for the people, regardless of my race. And then there are people like, well, it's women, and you know how people feel about women. Let me tell you about the state of Texas. The state of Texas has already had 2 women governors.
That's
to,
right.
to be clear.
And Richards.
And our first one was in the 1930s.
All right, show me one person that says the reason Jasmine Crockett is behind and it's not going to win is because she's black or female. Does one person believe that? Does anybody honestly choose their vote for Senate of Texas based on skin color or gender? Or is it maybe because this is a very Republican state and she's a Democrat? And so she's just arguing with it. All the harpies on The View are just like, yeah, it makes sense to me. Everybody hates blacks and females in Texas. They're just slandering us. And we wonder why they shoot at us. We wonder why they shot Charlie Kirk. They shot Donald Trump. You wonder why they attack our ICE offices. Because this goes unchecked. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, terrible governance from the city of Dallas. They're looking for a new city hall location. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, football fans. James Parker here for the Prize Picks app. And this is when Prize Picks gets the shine, because the disappointing part about old fuddy-duddy fantasy sports is that your season is over when the regular season is over, but that's not how it works with Prize Picks. It's a daily fantasy sports app. It's something different. I didn't understand it until I downloaded the app, and it dawned on me, oh, man, I could make a lineup every day if I wanted to. I can make multiple lineups a day. I can make a lineup just for my football. I can make a lineup for my soccer. I can make a lineup for my basketball, my hockey, or I could mix and match, because it's a lineup of 2 to 6 players. So you could have a hockey player, a basketball player, college football, pro football, whatever the heck cricket is, and you add them to your lineup. You look at a statistic, you choose more or less. You can win up to 2,000 times your money with Prize Picks. If you're new to the app, download Prize Picks and use the promo code WBAP. That'll get you $50 in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Download Prize Picks, use promo code WBAP, and get $50 in lineups with your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Hey, welcome to the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker. To the phones we go. Lane in Arlington, you're on WBAP. Go.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for taking my call. I have the Mr. Baker sarcastic epiphany for you. Are you ready?
Mr. Baker, what does that mean?
I'm sorry. Sarcastic epiphany for you today.
Okay.
I've noticed how we talk about socialism, including Jasmine Crockett. Socialism and Marxism does thrive. Hear me out. It does thrive in one avenue. It only thrives in a capitalist society. Country, state, it only thrives in a capitalist country because what do they need? They need money. And guess what? How do they funnel that money? Through bribes, through fraud, through LLCs that don't exist, or maybe maybe child daycares that don't exist. Even all the way up to George Soros. George Soros is making his money off of Wall Street, off of investments, returning money on investment. They are the ultimate in hypocritical oath.
Well, I've always found it interesting how many of these air quotes communists who are flooding the streets and waving signs and chucking bricks, how many of them are the children of affluent parents?
Many, and they all have their iPads. They all have their cell phones. Remember, was it 15 years ago, the one percenters back in New York City?
Oh, the Occupy Wall Street stuff?
The homeless had to teach them how to survive on the streets, and then all of their funds, all of their donations, guess where they put it? In the bank.
Oh, well, good point there. That's a beautiful irony. All right, well, thank you very much, Lane in Arlington. Let's come to some local news here. WFAA has the report. Dallas is scouting for a new city hall still. Now, they announced that they were going to say, well, we're spending like $1 million to research if we need to leave City Hall, if that's what's best and most economically palatable for the community of Dallas. But what I was saying back then, and what I'm going to reiterate before I play this next soundbite, is the answer to this, whatever the research people actually find, they're going to give the city council the results that they want. They're going to say, well, it would be even more expensive than we thought to fix City Hall and renovate it and get it up to standard. So not only would it save us money, it would save us a ton of money if we just built a new one from scratch. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then we got to demolish this one, which makes no sense. How does that save anybody money? And so they're going to get what they want. And then there's going to be all kinds of bells and whistles that are thrown upon it. Like, well, we did the math over here, and just the construction project alone would generate $20 billion worth of economic impact and whatever. We know that's what's going to happen here. It's a terrible idea. It makes no sense from a logical standpoint. Hey, if you had a house and it needed some repairs, what would be the smarter thing? Repair your house? Build an entire another house and keep this house, or build an entire new house and tear this house down? Right. It would probably be just fix the house that you're in. At worst, it would be build another house and keep this one because it still has some sort of value. But in no way, from just basic math and logic, would it be build a new house and tear this one down and then sell the rectangle that it's on. But here's the report from WFAA.
City of Dallas is preparing for a future in a new City Hall location. The Dallas Morning News reports today is the last day for commercial locations scouted by a group charged with finding alternate sites to submit how their property could fit in the city's plans. City leaders have debated whether to renovate, replace, or find a new City Hall location for months. Estimates to renovate the nearly 48-year-old building are between $100 and $345 million.
It's a hell of a spread. From $100 to $345 million. By the way, when they had the meeting a couple months ago, they said it was $300 million. They just added $45 million to it in the last 6 weeks. I wonder if that's legit. Did they do a whole new comprehensive study? God, this is so shallow. And the reporting on this is supposed to be what it alerts the people. Hey, they're trying to just waste money and spend money that they don't need to spend of yours. No, and I'm not faulting WFAA. That's every TV station, pretty much every newspaper and media outlet. That's just the standard they go on. It's just thoughtless. Well, city council said it was a good idea, and We trust them. Politicians will never lie to us or waste our money or steal from us. Grr. Coming up next on the James Show, another terribly brain dead local news story. They're unveiling today in Dallas a memorial honoring the LGBTQ Q plus whatever we have on that one, the alphabet community. You'll hear my take on that next on the James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. Is a mural even news? It's the James Show, News Talk 829.33 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. You never know what they'll say next. Plus, they tell you stories that you won't hear elsewhere in the media. But for this story, this is a local one here. WFAA has the report on a gay mural that's being unveiled in Dallas today.
In just a few hours, a mural honoring LGBT plus community will be unveiled. The ceremony starts at 10:30 and the AHF Wellness Center. So the mural is by artist Kimmy Flores. It was commissioned by AIDS Healthcare Foundation, the world's largest nonprofit for HIV and AIDS services.
All right, there are lots to talk about here. Number one, if you made a mural, would it make the news? If I made a mural, would it make the news? When you put a mural up on the side of your business, do they show up? What about for like sports figures or whatever? You see all kinds of murals around town. Do they make the news? No, but it makes the news if it helps the narrative. They don't care about murals. Are you kidding? That's not the journalistic standard by which they put that on the news. They wanted to let the rest of the world know that see how cool and hip and awesome everyone thinks this community is. See how much praise and adoration you get if you're a segment of Team Blue. Now, go make a Team Red mural. Go make a mural that says, hey, we're pro-life. Or go make a mural that says, hey, Charlie Kirk was awesome. Go make a mural that says, I don't know, be raised in the house with your father. You love Jesus. Shrink government. Something. See if you make the news. You don't. And that's interesting. Because it's not like, they'll pick it up if you go make a mural, that's thoughtful and is making a point and is great art. We'll pick it up. No, you won't. In all of planet Earth, not just America, not just Texas, in all of planet Earth, is there one mural celebrating heterosexual sex? I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if it's zero. It might be zero. I've never heard of it. I've definitely never seen a news report on it. And look, this isn't an anti-gay rant. I don't care if you're gay or not. Go gay it up. Knock yourself out. But don't you think it'd be more important if we had a mural dedicated to the sexual orientation needed to avoid extinction? What the heck is going on? And so here's another lesson. Hey, if you want to be an artist and you want to make a Charlie Kirk mural or a hetero mural, you're not going to make it on the news. You're not going to get a grant. They're not going to say your name on network television. But if you just sign up for Team Blue, look how awesome things get. You think any tax money goes to any of these foundations that give artists these giant checks that they don't deserve for a mural that doesn't need to exist, getting ridiculous praise only because it fits the narrative? And what does that say? We have a organization here that's supposed to be helping people deal with AIDS, and what are they doing? They're fronting murals? Is that really the best, most judicious use of your anti-AIDS dollars? Or is that the best, most judicious use of these dollars that aren't really for AIDS? It's just for promoting the narrative. That money is for promoting the narrative. They are exploiting the suffering of people who have gotten AIDS, all for the narrative. Far more important than buying someone AZT or treatment. Nope. The narrative. It's all about PR. So I don't know. If they funded this with non-taxpayer dollars, it's still weird. If they funded it with taxpayer dollars, it's just egregious. Why is this news? I don't have an answer for that. But the selective reporting, quite interesting, isn't it? All right, coming up 1 week from today, the beginning of Parker's Pours. Now, we're going to be doing this the third Thursday of every month. As long as you people show up and spend some money, we can keep this going for until the cows come home. But it's going to start off here the third Thursday of every month. And it's going to start out at the Omni Hotel next week. So 1 week from today, I'm going to go out at the bar at the bottom. It's called Whiskey and Rye. I'm going to do the show live from 2 to 5. You're welcome to come out and sit and say hi. I'm not going to be able to talk much except for maybe a few minutes here and there on the breaks. But then afterwards, I'm going to hang out for a couple hours, 2-3 hours. And I'll be, unless I get totally swamped, every time I've done one of these public events, like maybe 40, 50 people show up, and I have plenty of time to talk to everyone for a few minutes. And in fact, I'll talk to you long enough to where you'll get sick of talking to me and move on. That's what I want. So the cooler part, though, is that you get to meet other WBAP listeners. And some of y'all, I don't know, when I say things like that, y'all turn it into some kind of meat market. But I mean, I'm not against that. If you're a WBAP listener who happens to be single and you want to get meet more people who are like-minded, that's a great place to do it. But that's not what this is about. Come on out. It's really about hanging out at an amazing venue, getting to see a fun new place in a cool part of town, engaging with like-minded people, and of course the whiskey's a pretty good deal too. So the Whiskey and Rye, it's the bar at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, right across the street from the Fort Worth Convention Center. I would tell you your address, but you don't need to know it because your phone knows where it's at. Just ask your phone. I'm going to be giving out 4 $50 gift certificates for Whiskey and Rye during the show. So if I have to bribe you to come on out and see me, I'm not above that. I'll bribe you. I have no problems with that. So we're starting it next Thursday. Hopefully this will be the third Thursday of every month. I wanted to do like third Thirsty Thursday or Thirsty Third Thursday or Third Thursday Thirsty or something third, that kind of thing. I got voted down on that, and that's probably for the best. Coming up next, nobody wants to eat salad. Nobody. No matter what RFK says, nobody wants to eat salad. We're going to talk about the new government food pyramid next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. It's News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP. Nobody really likes salad. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And when I say nobody really likes salad, a bunch of people are going, I like salad. You know what I mean. That's not anybody's favorite food. And if they say it is, they're lying to you. We did not climb to the top of the food chain to eat lettuce. We like meat is what we like. And we like other decadent, rich foods. We like cheese. We like chocolate. We like ice cream. We like Dr. Pepper. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is RFK has a new food pyramid. Now, the food pyramid is one of the craziest things that has happened right in front of your face that just makes no sense, that everyone just went with for your entire life. Now, in the United States, we didn't have a food pyramid that was introduced by the USDA until 1992. And in 1992, like, this isn't ancient history. This wasn't, us making a food pyramid based on what we knew in the 50s and 60s. This was 1992. It said at the very bottom of the pyramid, the number one thing that you're supposed to eat, you're supposed to have more servings of this than any other thing every day, was what? Bread and pasta. You're supposed to have like 5 to 6 servings of bread and pasta a day. You nasty bastards. I cannot sit around and eat that much toast in one day. In fact, that sounds kind of gross. But the crazy part about that, 6 to 11 servings a day? What are you trying to make me fat? Pretty much just a few years after they put this out, we started seeing every diet based on the opposite. The Atkins diet was you can eat whatever you want as long as there's no bread or sugar. Wow, really? There's the South Beach diet, the caveman diet, and the keto diet, and I don't even know what they're calling it now, just the no carb thing. There's also just probably within months after we passed this out, the government said, hey, you should have 6 to 11 servings of bread and cereal and rice and pasta. That's this grain group. Everyone started getting gluten sensitivities. But the base of the food pyramid was gluten and empty carbs. So it's been one of the worst pieces of advice that's just gone unchallenged. And it's not old. It's not like the Tuskegee experiments. This is from the 90s. So then the old food pyramid had fruit and vegetables above that. And then above that, they had meat and dairy. And for some reason, they stuck beans in that category too with the meat and dairy. It's a plant. And then at the very top, on use sparingly, oils, sweets, fats. So I don't know if you've ever tried to get in shape or do a little bodybuilding or get buff or try and get abs or whatever. But you'll notice that this isn't what bodybuilders use. This isn't what athletes have been using. This is terrible advice. And if you want to get enough protein to build your muscle and be healthy and be athletic, or God forbid, make some gains around here, you're going to need more than 2 to 3 servings a day, which is what was previously recommended. So RFK is seeking to remedy some of that with his new food pyramid.
So this new inverted food pyramid puts red meat and veggies at the top. It moves the grains to the bottom. Tell us why.
Red meat, protein, eggs, poultry, any kind of healthy protein. Today, about 50% of the calories that our children eat are ultra-processed foods or highly refined carbohydrates, and it's literally poisoning them. And that is the result of a food pyramid that was driven by mercantile impulses that put Fruit Loops at the top of the fruit pyramid. We now have a science-based food pyramid that is based upon the most recent best science. And it's telling people to eat proteins, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and whole grains. And that is going to transform the American dietary culture.
Yeah, and so it makes you think, well, why would they say that to begin with? Why would they say that in 1992 that you need to eat a ton of grains, wheats and corns and whatever? There's a couple of theories on that. If you want to look at it through just a purely economic base, you would say, well, the powers that be have been subsidizing the snot out of this stuff since the Great Depression. They have a wild surplus for it, and it would be good for the farmers if the price could go up. And you know what? We want the price of these farm commodities to go up, so we'll subsidize it with the food pyramid and ethanol and all these other programs. Because where's the first place every presidential election starts? It starts with the Iowa caucus, my friends. So why would you put a bunch of anti-Iowa policies front and center? You trying to lose the election? But there's the non-economic look at this. If you want to look at it completely political. Why? Why would people, especially think like a central planner, think like a Soviet. Why would you want the masses to eat grains instead of meat and cheese? Because it's cheaper. You could give less resources to the common man, more resources to you, the elites, or the war effort. But where were the Nazis on this one? Rupert Darwall, a historian of British descent, brought this up.
Yeah, if you look at what the Nazis were doing in the 1930s and their environmental policies, virtually every theme you see in the modern environmental movement, the Nazis were doing. So it happens to be a historical fact that the Nazis were the first political party in the world to have a wind power program. It also happens to be a fact that they were against meat eating, and they considered that it was terribly wasteful that so much grain went to feed livestock rather than to make bread. It's also the case that they had the equivalent of fuel economy rules because they had the most expensive gasoline in Europe, and so they basically had very few people driving cars. So virtually everything that you see, I think actually the most extraordinary thing that I came across was this quote from Adolf Hitler, where he told an aide once, "I'm not interested in politics, I'm interested in changing people's lifestyles." Well, that's extraordinarily contemporary. That is what the modern environmental movement is all about. It's about changing people's lifestyles.
And about salad, don't pretend to be excited about salad. That's like people who saying your favorite drink is water. No, it's not. It doesn't taste like anything. Oh, my favorite Beatles, Ringo. No, it's not. Nobody says that. WFAA had a report about a local salad chain closing its doors.
The end is near for another food chain in North Texas. Drive-through eatery Salad & Go announced it is closing all Texas and Oklahoma locations by Sunday. This is on top of the 41 restaurant closures it announced back in September. Salad & Go says it is refocusing on strengthening operations in Arizona and Nevada and will return to Texas when the time is right. The chain's Capel headquarters also moving out to Arizona.
So the central planners, the statists, they didn't want you not eating meat because that wasn't good for you. They wanted you not eating meat because that was good for them. And no, nobody really likes salad. That's why it's closing. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, RFK changed the vaccine schedule. Find out next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, homeowners, James Parker here for RhinoShieldDFW.com. Now, if you're thinking about painting your house, just get that thought out of your mind. We don't do that anymore because we have the technology past paint. It's a ceramic coating. Just like you wouldn't go out and buy a car that still had wooden wheels on it, you shouldn't torture your house by putting another coat of paint on it. In fact, nobody should ever paint the outside of their house again. Paint is now for indoor use only. We have a space-age technology that borrows two different technologies. For one thing, it comes in two parts. Gary can come to your house and show you how it works, but there's the first primer level, and it looks like a really thin crepe, almost spongy. It's 8 to 10 times thicker than paint, but when you put it on, it keeps the surface texture of whatever's underneath it. So it looks great, but it has some properties that paint doesn't have. It can expand and contract with your house. Paint can't do that. That's why in 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a bunch of cracking and flaking and peeling with the paint. It's just going through the normal seasons. Paint can't stand that. Rhino Shield can. And then on top of that primer, they use this nanoparticle ceramic coating that blocks UV sun rays, lowers your energy cost, helps it be water resistant, and it just looks good too. It doesn't fade nearly as fast as paint, has a 25-year transferable warranty. If you need help with the cost, that's the only thing you should worry about because the technology is definitely better. But I can help you with that too. Mention the James Show. You'll get 20% off, and they can get you financing and bring your monthly payment down to like, I don't know, 160, 170 bucks a month. So you don't have to come out of pocket for thousands. Even if you were going to paint, you couldn't do this. So go to rhinoshielddfw.com, rhinoshielddfw.com. Hey, what do you think about the new vaccine schedule? I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. I'm your host, James Parker, on your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And this was kind of coinciding with the changing of the new food pyramid to stress meat, vegetables, and fruits and put grains in a smaller role. This was also a big one, a huge change here. And by a change, I don't mean a change in the same direction. This is an about face RFK has reduced the number of vaccines.
On another issue, Mr. Secretary, you made a lot of waves this week, and I wasn't surprised by the announcement at all, but you reduced the childhood vaccination recommendations from 17 to 11. Here's one of your friends.
But in terms of, being able to trust them, we can no longer trust our federal government for vaccine recommendations, and that's a real tragedy. Fortunately, a lot of the professional societies are stepping forward, and we are making our own. We are making our own recommendations.
Mr. Secretary, you are, according to him, American Academy of Pediatrics, endangering the public trust in public health.
Yeah, the new recommendations don't take vaccines away from anybody. All the vaccines under the old recommendation list will continue to be covered by insurance. The Vaccine for Children program, everybody will have access to them. If you want them through shared decision-making with your physician, you can get any of the vaccines on the schedule. What we did is we took the vaccines that are the vaccines that other countries give, our peer nations in Europe, where there's great science, and a lot of our science is based upon their databases. And they're the vaccines that they believe are important for children. One of the things that they're convinced of from experience and science is that if you add too many vaccines to the schedule, the uptake goes down. And these are countries that don't have mandates, but they have the same or greater vaccine compliance than we do.
All right, now that sounds like an improvement, but for me, that's just a kind of a tiny step in the right direction, but not nearly enough. Now, number one, what he's actually saying there makes total sense. Why do we have a bazillion vaccines when you see these other countries from developed societies, England, Norway, and Denmark, and all the other places we supposedly want to be like, they have much fewer. Are they having the same amount of issues we're having with some of these side effects with autism and whatnot? And so I think there's a real good justification for reducing the vaccine schedule. The part that I find falls short, though, is why do we even have a vaccine schedule recommended by the government at all? Does it really help anyone? Does it help the general public? Does it help the vaccine makers? Does it help the doctors? Who does this help? Why do we have it? Did the Constitution say that it's part of the federal government's job to give you medical advice? Because I don't remember that from Article 1, Section 8. Has the government always had a vaccine schedule? Now, we, of course, know that answer is no, because this country has existed longer than vaccines. The Constitution far precedes vaccines. But in their wisdom, I think they were right to leave it out, all this healthcare stuff. What would be different if we didn't have a vaccine schedule that was recommended by the government? Well, James, you'd have a bunch of doctors that were just doing their own thing and not following any sort of protocol. So, is that better or worse than what we have now? Because if the federal government gets their information wrong, then you've influenced, if not forced doctors, you've at least coerced them to give bad, harmful treatments. And you've seen this happen over and over and over. And you've seen this happen a lot with drugs. There's drugs. You'll see commercials for it for a year or two. Then about a year after that, there's lawsuits. And everyone, if you've ever taken this drug, call this law office. You could be part of a class action settlement. So it doesn't actually protect you. It doesn't save you. Why do we have that? Why do we need that? Because these are sort of rhetorical questions, because the real answer is we don't. We don't need the government to tell us when we get a vaccine, what vaccines we get, at what schedule we get them, at what age we get them. You know who does need to tell us? Doctors. Your doctor. And yeah, doctors are going to have different answers. And so you'll be able to see the doctors who give a ton of early vaccines versus the kids who came from doctors who gave fewer vaccines at a later date. And we will have a control group, and we will have a variable group, and we'll actually get to see which one works better. It's the same thing we say about education. You get rid of public schools, you don't have a top down. Oh no, then schools are going to be able to do their own thing. They're not going to have to take standardized testing or do the same curriculum. No, the point is you're going to have 3,000 different school districts doing different things, and we'll actually see which one works best. If you want to see just how awful government regulations are at calcifying and freezing innovation, look no further than public schools. You know how different almost everything looks from when we were kids. Look how different your TV looks. Look at this little flimsy, thin monitor. Weighs like 4 pounds and it's bigger than anything my parents had. And it's just sitting in the studio and probably cost $80. When a giant TV about this size in 1988 dollars would have been $2,000. Look at how different your cars look. Look at how different our shoes look. Look at how different our clothes look. All this moisture wicking. But look at the school bus that's picking up my kids. Looks the same as when I wrote it, which looks the same as when my parents wrote it. Why? Because it's government regulated. Innovation goes out the window when government regulates it. Just like, remember when you got your first cell phone? Remember the ports that were on it? Remember how they kept changing? And then there was the long flat port that you got with your first iPhone, and then it changed to a lightning cable. Now they all have USB-C. Why? Regulations from the Europeans. You know what you're not going to see now? New ports pop up. Port innovation has been disincentivized by regulation. So overall, this is a good thing, but it is only a step in the right direction. We need to get the government out of the business of recommending food on a food pyramid or a vaccine schedule altogether. They've proved wholly inadequate, if not outright dishonest. Just look at the food pyramid. And can we just try it going forward? And if it fails, then we'll put it back on. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, you'll meet the new face of the Don't Mess with Texas campaign. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. So yeah, RFK brought some new health rules. Now, they're just recommendations. Food pyramid's not going to change your life any. The vaccine schedule probably not going to change your life any unless you're about to have some kids. I like the sound of both of those. I think both of them don't go far enough. Stay put. Coming up next, you're going to hear who's the new face of the Don't Mess with Texas campaign. But first, we're going to go up to Greenville and talk to John. Hey, John, you're on WBAP.
Hey, James, long-time listener, first-time caller. How we doing today, brother?
Fantastic. Thanks for listening, sir.
Hey, so my argument is only this. I agree that the federal government can recommend whatever the hell they want. I'm sorry, am I allowed to say hell on here?
Yeah, you can say hell.
Okay, but, I mean, they did thalidomide back in the 50s. I mean, they recommended it.
Right. For people who don't know, thalidomide was supposed to help ladies. Hang on. Let me explain this because not everyone knows what that is. Yes, it was a drug that cured morning sickness, and from what I understand, it worked really well in preventing morning sickness. But then they had a bunch of babies with birth defects and like flipper babies or a stegosaurus plate growing out of their back. It was horrible. The birth defects it gave. And go ahead.
But the federal government only recommended it. So the federal court said, the SCOTUS said that you're allowed to recommend, but you cannot mandate. And that's why I agree with you 99% of the way. But as long as it's not a mandate, I mean, we've had a food pyramid for how long that was recommended, but it wasn't mandated. The difference is when Biden mandated the vaccine. That's the difference.
So he tried, and that obviously makes it a lot worse on a moral and ethical level. But John, would it change? Would it change anything in your life if we just got rid of the recommendations for vaccines or food pyramids?
No, not at all.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm going to do what I want to do, and the government can recommend whatever they want. I mean, that's political speech in my eyes.
Yeah, well, I don't like them getting into these situations. I don't like them making recommendations outside of what the Constitution tells them is their job. I don't care what they want to do when it comes to education or when it comes to healthcare or when it comes to food stamps.
No offense, but you as a parent are supposed to have the right to do whatever the heck you want.
Well, we do, but there are some
limitations. I don't want to go that far, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, if the government recommends something, you can take it or you can leave it. Mm-hmm. That's called freedom.
Sure, but it's also freedom that if it's a recommendation that we can just ignore. Why are we paying all these scientists at Health and Human Services to even look into it? Why are we paying over 1,000 PhD economists at the Federal Reserve to figure out whether or not they want to raise or lower the interest rate? It's a 50-50 shot, and they get it wrong more often than they get it right.
And my question is, why are we still pass a budget for NASA today? What does NASA do for us?
What did they ever do? All right, all good stuff.
Agreed, but I'm saying, why did we pass a budget as Republicans? Why did we pass a budget today and include NASA?
We're not even close to a balanced budget. You're making all great points. I agree with most of that. I love the new face of the Don't Mess with Texas campaign. This was something that was invented when we were kids, or when I was a kid. And I remember the first guy was Stevie Ray Vaughan in the 80s, and that was so cool because look at Stevie Ray, and he shredded the guitar, and now we're Don't Mess with Texas. Yeah, because we're bad. No, that means don't litter. Okay, well, I still like the sentiment. So here's Post Malone's ad for Don't Mess with Texas.
Back in '86, Stevie Ray Vaughan inspired Texans to take pride in ending roadside litter. That spirit lives on. Let's keep it going and do our part to keep Texas looking its best. I'm proud to take part in keeping Texas roads free from trash.
Don't Mess with Texas has meant don't litter for 40 years. Let's keep it up.
Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
Yay, that's pretty cool. For those of you older than me, Post Malone is a very popular musician, and he's in the rare air where he started out doing rap songs, and then he did pop songs and kind of rock songs, and then he just did a country album last year that was probably the biggest country album of the year. So yeah, and he's from here. He's I think he was born somewhere else, but he grew up in Grapevine, and he's Dallas Cowboy fan and wears cowboy gears in his videos and stuff. So super cool there. Coming up next, this lady who is an adult star over the holidays gave her life to Jesus, got saved, got baptized. Someone asked her if she's going to continue being an adult star. She says she hasn't decided yet. So the question I have for you, can you be both? Is there any way you can be an adult star and still be a Christian? I'll give you my thoughts on that next, but I'd love to hear from you. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM WBAP. All right, I'd like to have a talk with my fellow Christians here. Can you be an adult star and a Christian at the same time? I ask because a well-known, I guess they're called content creators now. They used to be called porn stars, but there's probably a lot of kids listening, so I don't want to hit that word too many times. But she's well known for sleeping with over 1,000 men in 12 hours. It was some stunt she did, I don't know, was it last year before last? But she got baptized over the holidays, and she put her baptism online, and of course a huge debate sprung up under it, where some people were saying that, you know what, Jesus can save anybody at any time, no matter what you've done. And while I agree, isn't it kind of a sign that it's not very genuine if you're going to continue in your career? Now, she hasn't confirmed that she's going to continue in her career, but she said her career will take a back seat after she gets baptized. And I think that means she's going to stop. That's not like referring to a genre. That's not take it in the back seat. But, you know, this is one of the things where, I'm a Christian. I'm just not a very good one. I say a lot of cuss words. I drink a lot. And I really have a hard time forgiving people, you know, or just forgetting stuff. Really? You just slew 1,000 guys in a day and now you're a Christian? You sure your heart's in the right place? But then again, we're told you're not supposed to judge. You take her at her word. Look, I hope it's legit, because that would be a huge win. But I don't know. I go back and forth on this because there's a lot of people who have their own little vices. You know, for me, I like to drink. For some people, they like to gamble. For some other people, they're into homosexual sex, which is not talked greatly about in the Bible. And so, can you continue in your sinful behavior but still be a Christian? Well, we seem to excuse all these other people who are gluttonous, people who are fat, people who are drunk, people who are gay. Why not a porn star? I don't know. I have a hard time with this one. Becky in Fort Worth, you're on WBAP. Hey, Becky.
So the question is, can she do both? I feel like she's doing that now, and she can definitely be saved. I feel like if she grows, that's an if she grows in her faith, she's not going to want to. But like you said, I'm full of sin. I mean, you're full of sin. I'm full of sin. There's what I call judgmental sins of the society, and then there's what God calls sin. And we're not to judge. That's my opinion.
Right, and of course, technically speaking, I think all Christians can agree that if you've done whatever in your past and you get saved now, of course, God can save you no matter what condition you show up and ask. But if you continue in your overtly and just ridiculously sinful lifestyle going forward, isn't that a sign that it wasn't a genuine saving? Yes, I think we can all believe that too. We can also believe that I think most Protestant Christians believe once you're saved, you can never lose it. So if she is saved and it was genuine, but she backslides back into her lifestyle, then she's still saved in the eyes of God. And so I think my answer is yes. It just seems quite unlikely, I think, is where I'm at on this one, Becky.
I think that, I mean, it's in John, all over the book of John. We're not the judge.
Yeah, well, I'm not very good at that part, Becky. I love judging. Todd in Santo, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Man, I agree a lot with Becky that, you're a sinner, I'm a sinner, she's a sinner. And there's really no, I like what you said about the Protestant Christians. You know, once you put in your faith or get saved, then, you've got it forever and you can't lose it. But the scripture also says that you need to recognize your sin and turn away from it. At all resistance, give it as much resistance as possible. And humanly possible, we all sin. It's just in our nature. So, I would say, like you just said, I don't even know what word to use, but 1,000 guys a day or whatever, 24 hours or whatever.
In 12 hours, yeah.
Maybe let's knock it down to like 300.
Yeah, I see what you did there. I know.
But anyhow, thank you very much. Yeah, no, but yeah, you got to turn away from your sin. You have to recognize your sin and turn away from it and shun it as much as possible.
Yeah, at least knock it down a little bit. I like that, Todd. But look, here's what I think I really do like about this is because there's almost a trend here. And, these people are reaching folks that Charlie Kirk didn't reach. Charlie Kirk was, an evangelist trying to bring people to Christ. But I've talked about Russell Brand a lot on this show. But over the holidays, last year, in December of 2024, Denzel Washington got baptized, and he put it on social media. And now he's trying to get his minister's license. And, when these celebrities turn to the church, there's a lot of people that reaches that you and I don't reach, that the church otherwise wouldn't reach. So I think in that aspect, I think she could be causing a lot more harm. I mean, good than harm.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. If as long as they don't try to create some kind of false interpretation of, and that's when they're going to be doing more harm than good.
Well, I'm watching the pendulum swing because these things come in waves, and just like when we were growing up, being gay was edgy and cool and counterculture. But now when you see it painted on the steps of crosswalks and on the steps of the Methodist Church, now we have a new a mural that's being unveiled in Dallas for being gay, and it got talked about on the news like it's the greatest thing in the world. To be a counterculture in the future is going to be Christian.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I've got. I'm not going to say a whole lot of gay friends, but I have some friends that are gay, and really and truly, I don't care. It doesn't affect me. My life is between me and God, and their life is between them and God.
Well, I have a lot of gay friends who are also Christian.
Yeah, see, that's where me and you may be different. Is I'm not going to say that I don't think they're going to heaven because that's not my decision, but they're leading a life that they think is okay, and I don't think it's okay. It's not my place to tell them different.
Sure.
But I don't think it's okay. I'm not going to tell them, hey, you're going to burn in hell or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I used to live with the lesbian couple, and I think Dana and Brittany are definitely going to heaven. I think there's a lot of them that aren't, but I don't think that can prevent anyone from going to heaven, just having homosexual attraction. Hey, we are doing a live event. The James Show is going on the road. And I'm going to be in Fort Worth a week from today. You can come out and see the James Show live. All you people who say, you need to come to Tarrant County. I'm coming to Tarrant County. And we're starting the Parker Pour. Now, this is going to be the first one a week from today, but we're going to start doing this the third Thursday of every month. And it's going to start, look, I know it's only the 15th, but that happens to be the third Thursday of January because we started, the first was on a Thursday. So we're going to be at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel, the one downtown, right across from the Fort Worth Convention Center. The bar is called Whiskey and Rye. I'll be there live from 2 to 5 doing the James Show. Then afterwards, I'm going to be hanging out for a couple hours. Come hang out with us. You can meet me. We don't do autographs these days. We do selfies with our phone, so we can take a selfie. You can put me in a bikini and AI filters if you want to. And I'm also giving away 4 $50 gift certificates to Whiskey and Rye. So come on out. Have a good time. I'll be there from 2 in the afternoon till, 7, 8, God knows when. If things get out of hand, I might just get a room at the hotel and crash there. But it's the inaugural. You will be at the first one, the Pour of the Week, Parker's Pours, starting 1 week from today at the Omni in Fort Worth. Stick around. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show on News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.